Today on Goji Center, the islands of Jurassic will quake on the arrival of one of the most ferocious video game dinosaurs of all time, Ark'S Giga. In today's what-if scenario, we'll discuss what would happen if this animal of titanic proportions manages to make landfall on one of these islands, its effect on the environment, and what dinosaurs will plummet down the food chain as a result. Our Jurassic Park super predators are now at risk. Will they find a way to prevail, or will they also be demoted to prey? All this and more on the advent of Ark'S Giga to the Jurassic world. Before we unleash the Giga on these biomes, we first need to understand the basics of this animal. This creature is one of the most powerful tameable dinosaurs in Ark Survival Evolved. Notorious for its massive size, capability to outrun almost anything, its immense health levels, and extremely heavy damage. Now, it is a bit unorthodox to migrate video game attributes to a more grounded cinematic universe, but we'll do our best to make this Giga true to its video game capabilities. There are a couple of attributes that we need to discuss if this what-if scenario is going to be at all entertaining. The very first is its Gnash ability, or effect inflicted on anything that it bites. This causes certain creatures to lose 1% of their max health for the next 5 seconds. So how can this effect be used in a more or less real-life scenario against the dinosaurs in Jurassic? Well, if you didn't know, this Giganotosaurus's teeth are known to have a narrow, sharp leaf-like shape which are perfect for slicing. Sharp weapons such as this will cause uncontrollable bleeding if they manage to pierce. Similar to losing 1% of your health over some time, losing this much blood during combat is pretty much comparable. The more blood you lose, the weaker you become. Hence, your health depletes at a fast rate. Except in real life, this isn't limited to just 5 seconds. Anything will continue to lose blood until it bleeds to death. The next ability that is imperative to bring up is its Rage. In Ark, this Giga has a mechanic which will trigger something known as Rage Mode. As this Giga receives a ton of damage over a short period of time, this Rage meter will max out, causing this Giga to literally go berserk. This in turn causes this animal to inflict a lot more damage and destroy anything around it, even its rider and any friendly tames. How would this work in real life? There are actually instances in which real animals go through said Rage Mode. War elephants are the perfect example. There have been countless instances and reports of elephants getting peppered with flaming arrows, receiving several cuts, and other damage that would make them run amok. Similar to this Giga, the elephants would ignore the commands of their riders, trampling friend and foe alike. So can this Giga run amok in real life? Most definitely yes. If this Giga finds itself in a situation where it receives tons of damage from all directions in a short span of time, it will only cause this thing to rage. Lastly, we must discuss this animal's size. There isn't an exact number, but by looking at this reference of this Giga's dossier, and assuming this fella is around 6 feet in height, we can conclude that this Giga is anywhere between a whopping 69 to 71 feet in length, and 35 feet in height. That's standing in this particular posture. So yes, as you can imagine, this animal that will be stomping through the plains of Isla, Nublar, and Sorna already has a massive size advantage. But will this even matter? Let's find out. The first island to be introduced to Ark'S Giga will be Isla Sorna, a land filled with different predators and terrain types, elevations, and obstacles. Ark'S Giga has this in the bag pretty much. Back in Ark, we see that this animal thrives in hostile environments, most notably the volcano found in the island. Its size makes us believe that this animal would easily tear through any tough terrain and simply step over anything that would give pause to a smaller theropod. Let's talk about this biome's food chain. If you are familiar with this island's inhabitants, you'll recall that the top of this food chain is contested between two apex predators, T-Rexes and the Spinosaurus. Now, in later seasons of Camp Cretaceous, we find that Big Edie and Asset 87 are both native to Isla Sorna. These specimens grew pretty big, the Spino reaching lengths of almost 55 feet and Big Edie of up to 44 plus feet in length. In this scenario, these two are still on Isla Sorna and will be responsible for holding the top ranks of this island's food chain. But they're not alone up there. They are also accompanied by genetically engineered dromaeosaurs labeled as velociraptors. There are a couple of variants on this island, but both with extremely developed brains and capabilities to conduct well-coordinated attacks. Ark'S Giga now has competition. It won't take long before all three of these predator groups realize that there is a peculiar scent in the air, something unlike they've ever encountered before. What will the Giga start doing upon making landfall? Well, since it's so used to literally wandering about killing everything in its path back in Ark, it will proceed to do the exact same thing here. Nobody is safe, even these oversized armored herbivores. Ankylosaurus can only swing its tail so high, same goes with the Stegosaurus. Triceratops can only raise its brow horns to a certain height as well. The bottom line is that although these weapons would be effective against predators such as a T-Rex, these would not be enough to fend off a 70-plus foot-long predator like Ark'S Giga. But what about sauropods? These guys aren't safe either. Remember, this animal's Arc Gnash ability takes form as severe bleed damage in the cinematic universe. A well-placed bite to the neck of this brachiosaur, for example, would be more than enough to bring down this large sauropod. A herd of Mamenchisaurus would probably fend off a Giga if and only if they are concentrated in large numbers. The bull sauropods could form a defensive line of whipping tails, but even this could end in complete disaster. They aren't facing Rexes and Spinos anymore. This is a predator in a class of its own. This bite, powered by these enormous jaws, means no herbivore is safe on this island. Now, let's talk about the fight for the top of the food chain. If Giga survives this contest, we'll send him over to Isla Nublar. If we compare this Giga to the predators in this island, we'll notice a severe size difference. In Jurassic, being a taller theropod pays off pretty well. We've seen how Rexes in particular have trouble against taller carnivores, often getting shoved down using a critical angle of attack. This Giga will most likely exploit this height advantage to its fullest. This also goes for the Spinosaurus. A fight between these predators would potentially go like this. Giga acknowledges the clear height advantage and attempts to subjugate the opponent by bringing it down, opening a space to clamp its massive jaws on the victim and let the bleeding do the work. Unfortunately for both the Rex and the Spino, this guy is just simply too big to push and to inflict enough damage for it to back off. Because of the Giga's nature to kill everything upon sight, the first encounter with a Spinosaurus would mean that this creature would be extinct in Isla Sorna. The remaining T-Rexes, who see that this Giga is unbeatable, would simply get out of its way. Raptors in this island would most likely not mess with an animal this large. If they don't already mess with Rexes and Spinos, it is even more unlikely that they will try to bring down a super predator of sauropod-like proportions. They'd keep to themselves, feeding off the animals that were not consumed by the Giga. As this predator wanders through the island, any animal that comes across would get killed. But would it kill for sport? In Ark Survival Evolved, this animal's behavior is to kill everything around it. Perhaps this creature isn't down to thrive with anything with a pulse, and will instinctively kill any moving creature simply because it's hardwired to do so, instead of finding pleasure in doing it. So, who remains? Only the animals that can hide from plain sight or keep a distance. Pterosaurs would simply remain at bay thanks to their ability to fly. Small dinosaurs such as Compes and Dilophosaurus would remain hidden in the thick forests. Velociraptors would eventually run out of medium-sized herbivores to hunt down, forcing them to turn against the smaller carnivores and eventually each other. As we can see, the entire food chain would collapse with the advent of this dinosaur. If the Giga stays here for a few years, it will eventually kill off every large predator. But we'll transport this creature to Isla Nublar, where a new type of predator awaits. Now we'll travel down to Isla Nublar, where our Giga has just stepped on its shores. Here, we have plenty of predators to look out for as well. But talking about how Ark'S Giga would fare against dinosaurs like the Monolophosaurus or Carnotaurus is a waste of time. We need to focus on these four predators who would take up the top ranks of this island's food chain. Rexy, the Raptors, the Indominus Rex, and the Mosasaurus. Admittedly, this island in this scenario was already going to crap, since the Indominus Rex would already be killing everything in its path for fun. So now that makes two crazy predators that would in no time wipe out all large wildlife on this island. But who will cancel the other out? In the previous island, we saw that T-Rexes don't really stand a chance against this dinosaur. But the other three might or might not, depending on the circumstance. Let us explain. If the Indominus Rex lays eyes on the Giga, it will immediately acknowledge that this dinosaur will most definitely be difficult to handle on its own. After all, this creature measures 70 feet, and even a full-grown Indominus Rex would have trouble bringing this thing down. This creature is crazy, but it's not stupid either. All animals are hardwired to stay alive as long as possible, and an intelligent dinosaur like the Indominus Rex will now have to think of how it will stay alive, since this thing will eventually cause the Indominus to run out of food. In the past, we've seen one method of how the Indominus Rex dealt with such threats. Upon seeing that fighting humans with firearms would be difficult to fend off, it resorted to a base instinct found in this animal's genome: pack hunting. That's right, knowing how this thing is part raptor and how it's able to communicate with them, the Indominus would probably figure out that the best way to deal with this new super predator would be to form an alliance with these raptors. The more raptors involved, the better the chances are of bringing this guy down. In this franchise, raptors hunt in coordinated attacks. One gains the attention of the victim, while another member of the pack ambushes from the side. Except in this case, the best dinosaur to perform this ambush is the Indominus Rex. Its camouflaged body will give it the perfect cover to attempt this surprise attack. But would this even work? Assuming that these raptors had the balls to see this through, these raptors would lure the Giga into a predetermined kill zone, where the Indominus pounces forward, attacking this Giga's flank. This would probably work on another big theropod, but remember, this is not just any predator. This is Ark'S Giga, and this animal, after receiving damage from all angles in a short span of time, this creature will turn amok, or activate the said rage mode we discussed earlier. That's right, in the real world, animals, including us humans, that go berserk will experience something known as adrenaline, a hormone released by the adrenal glands that will trigger this amok state, heightening pain tolerance, increasing strength levels, thus allowing said animal to inflict more powerful damage. Upon seeing the loss of a couple of the pack members, these raptors will cut their losses, flee, and never face this dinosaur again. The Indominus won't get away with this too quickly. Because it is the largest, this creature will proceed to get hunted down by the much larger Giga, and most likely lose a fight against an enormous, abnormally enraged bull Giganotosaurus. This guy is the equivalent of a land-based, oversized Mosasaurus. Speaking of which, let's move over to the lagoon. Things here will get interesting. Assuming that the Mosasaur is ballsy enough to try and ambush the Giga, this could go in one of two ways. Jurassic has made it really difficult determining the exact size of this animal. It literally changes size every time you see it. If this Mosasaur is indeed the size as seen here, then there is no doubt that an animal this large can bring down a Giga, dragging it into the water, drowning it during an ambush. But if this Mosasaur is as large as some of these official sources claim, then Ark'S Giga will probably fare a lot better. If ambushed, this creature is robust and strong enough to hold its ground and pull backwards, beaching the Mosasaur onto dry land, allowing the Giga to easily outmaneuver a beached Mosasaur and go in for the kill. So, would the Giga comfortably thrive in these islands? The answer would be a simple yes. As we can see, there is no real threat for this animal, aside from a hypothetically large Mosasaurus. Ark'S Giga will remain as the uncontested predator in this island, just as it is in Ark Survival Evolved. Let us know in the comments if there is another dinosaur that could pose a threat. Special thanks to Johnny Riot and Evolution Square